Hello, I'm Steve Bailey, the NFSP Communications Manager, and welcome to the second episode of our podcast, The Post Report, Stories from the Post Office Network. We are joined by NFSP Chair Tim Boothman, who is also the Postmaster of Chapel-en-le-Frith Post Office in the Derbyshire Peak District. Tim is currently in his second term as Chair and is also the Non-Executive Director of the North West. Tim worked in dairy farming before starting as a postmaster at Lowmore, Bradford in 1998. After it closed under the Network Reinvention Scheme, Tim became postmaster at Chapel-en-le-Frith in 2005 and has 4 outreaches. For this podcast, we're sat in the Old Cell Ale Bar, which Tim owns with his wife Jane and is just a stone's throw from his post office. We're going to talk to Tim about his post office in Chapel-en-le-Frith and the role it plays in the community. Chapel-en-le-Frith is built on highland in the northwest of the Derbyshire Peak District and is a favourite location for tourists. There are sections of the old village still standing in the town, mostly located around the church, which has its origins in the 14th century. The post office is situated in the cobbled market square, which is lined with pubs and shops, and there are numerous attractions nearby for visitors to explore, including Bradshaw Hall, Ford Hall and Chapel Milton. Tim, can you tell me about your post office here at Chapel and the role it plays in the community?
Yes, obviously myself and my wife Jane, we came here in 2005, having run a post office in Bradford for 7 years. That one closed under network reinvention, and I used the compensation to buy Chapel-en-le-Frith. And at that time we had an SPDO, which is we had postmen that worked in the back, and it was my job to get up very early and supervise and facilitate the sorting of mail. Eventually, we did move the postman from the back of the post office into a large industrial unit, but they sadly went into Buxton Delivery Office in 2016. So yes, we've been here nearly 20 years.
Can you tell us a bit about your background and what motivated you to become a postmaster?
Originally, I used to be a dairy farmer from North Yorkshire. Sadly, my father died very unexpectedly in 1995, and so sadly I had to give up the farm. And I looked around for businesses and fancied a post office.
Is there anything you do to encourage customers into your store?
Yes, I mean, we get involved in lots of local charities and local events. Obviously, you'll know, back in 2015 I started a small brewery to the rear of the post office, which is a bit of a novelty, quite unique really. I think I'm the only post office in the country that's got a little nano brewery. That does very, very well, that sells very well. We obviously do cards and stationery, but we offer a very, very good service really. We've always got plenty of staff on hand, give good customer service, and we seem to keep quite busy despite things as they are. We're still very busy.
And we're sat in one of your other business interests today, the Old Cell Ale Bar. Can you tell us about how this all came about?
Yes, this is me. My venture of, I think myself and Jane, we purchased this 2.5 years ago. It's kind of an extension of the microbrewery really. A lady called Stella set this up in 2016, but due to personal circumstances, she wanted to sell it. So we were only too happy to take it on. It's a great bit of fun, a great hobby business, and with it being a free house, and I can buy beer anywhere, and usually have my own on here as well. Quite lucrative really.
How has the business changed in the time you've been a postmaster?
Oh gosh, right. Going back to the early days at Lowmore in Bradford, it was all pensions and benefits and bill payments. That's all we really did. 5.5 days a week. eBay came along, the revolution, and it became more on parcels and postage. And things has come and gone. TV licenses has gone and other products has gone, but other new ones has come on board. Currency, travel insurance, financial services. There's always been something to replace. When we've lost work, there's always been new work come along.
There is understandably a lot of anger amongst the public after Mr Bates versus the Post Office. NFSP Chief Executive Callum Greenhill called it a harrowing watch. What were your thoughts on the programme and the fallout from it?
Well, wow. After around the first 10 minutes, my thoughts were, wow, this is a really emotive, going to be a really emotive drama. And it certainly highlighted something that's been going on near on 20 years. Lots of the public really had heard about it, but probably knew nothing about it whatsoever. I think it's been a good thing really that finally the truth is out there.
You were a postmaster at the time and still use Horizon today. Did you or have you had any issues with the system?
Not personally myself. I don't believe so. I mean, obviously over the years I have had unexplained losses, but upon investigation it was probably due to user error, either myself or one of my members of staff. It's worked pretty well for me. It's unfortunate that it's not worked so well for everyone.
The NFSP and other representative bodies have been criticised for not supporting postmasters at the time. What do you say to that, and what is the NFSP doing now to support members?
Certainly over the years, I think the Federation has helped and supported lots of people. I will say they probably, in hindsight, it could have helped and supported people more than it did. I don't believe it could have stopped it. There's obviously, what's coming out of the inquiry is things were deliberately covered up. Very, very difficult. I've no reservations about the Federation of the past will have challenged Post Office on the robustness of Horizon, and I think they'll have done it almost constantly. But unfortunately, the Post Office were not forthcoming with the faults with it. But yes, I do believe the Federation of old could have and should have supported and helped members better than probably what it did.
Whilst the show was on, there were social media comments encouraging people to boycott post offices because of the anger felt towards Post Office Limited. How vital is it that the public continues to support their local post office and local postmasters?
Well, very. I can understand people wanting, the general public thinking that's absolutely awful. Let's just boycott the post office. But the thing is, obviously, 98% of post offices are independently run by self-employed business people. The problem with boycotting, it's only going to hurt one person, and that's the postmasters of today. So it's very important the public actually still supports their local post office. And when you think about it, the only bit of reputation the post office has got left is that of one of its postmasters with its members of the public.
Can you tell us how involved the NFSP are with the Horizon inquiry today?
Yes, currently the Federation is a core participant, and we've obviously had requests from the inquiry for documentation, and everything, all the archives out of Shoreham headquarters have obviously been submitted to the inquiry, and we're very, very happy to aid the inquiry and to get into the truth. I think for most members, I've been spoken to lots of members over the last few years, all they want to know is just the truth. the truth must come out, and it's got to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
What do you want to see happen now? The NFSP has spoken about an oversight committee to scrutinise and challenge Post Office Limited.
Yes, it's quite evident, and even though the inquiries are, probably only halfway through, the problem with Post Office Limited is its upper management and governance. It's just not been robust enough. And so an oversight committee made up of obviously postmasters, federation, other representative bodies, citizens' advice, etc. Somebody from obviously UK government investments, and all stakeholders really, could provide a level of scrutiny, a very high level of scrutiny, to really ensure that nothing like this ever happens again.
Horizon is set to be replaced by NBIT. What are your thoughts on NBIT and its rollout?
Well, I think NBIT is vital really. I think that eventually we should move on from Horizon. A name for it, I don't know whether they're going to carry on calling it NBIT, or somebody will come up with a name for it. But one thing's for sure, it should be externally audited and be absolutely fit for purpose.
You started your second term as NFSP Chair last year. What are your reflections on 2023?
2023, very, very difficult year. Rising costs running the post office, pressure on remuneration, Royal Mail directing its customers to online. Very, very, very difficult. Good news is Pudo services, Every and DPD have come on board, and Post Office are rolling them out and will continue to roll them out, so that's one good news story. But yes, very, very difficult year. Very difficult, some very, very, shocking things has come out at the inquiry. But, we'll all have to strive together to get over these.
What are your visions for the NFSP's future?
Personally, my visions for the Federation is eventually it'll have to become self-funding. That could be through member subscriptions again, or the way I'd like to go is through commercial interests. The current grant funding agreement, comes to an end 2030. It's doubtful whether there'll be another one. So we really must start looking, what the Federation will be like after 2030, and what members want. What do members want out of the Federation?
Can you talk us through your role at the NFSP?
Well, I'm currently non-executive director for the North West region and current national chair. My roles is basically like any other chair of any board of directors, and also obviously I do a lot of work with my regional committee to help and support members in the North West.
With the minimum wage going up, what can be done by Post Office to help support postmasters?
Well, a 25% increase in remuneration would be good. Unfortunately, I don't think the Post Office at this moment in time could afford that. One thing they are doing is they're looking to introduce like a bonus incentive payment for back office work. That's still under negotiation, and the details of that have not yet been finalised. But hopefully that'll provide, an enhanced level of remuneration going past April.
How can we ensure postmasters get better remuneration for the services they provide?
I think really it comes back to management and governance. 3 years ago, 48p in the pound of Post Office Limited income went to post postmasters. Now that's dropped to 42. Nobody seems to come along and tackle Post Office Limited central costs. There's just quite literally not enough money filtering down to postmasters. So until that's tackled, I can't see things changing much.
You attended Downing Street in November to hand in the DVLA petition, and the services have since been kept in post offices on a rolling contract for up to 3 years. How vital was it to keep the DVLA services in post offices for the time being?
Very. Especially those offices that have got a tablet and can do driving licence renewals. That's a very, very good service, nice and quick and lucrative as well. But I think more important than that is there is a lot of vulnerable, shall we say, elderly customers who still prefer to do the transactions in a post office that can't go online. I just see it as blatant discrimination against those particular sets of customers and the public in general. To some offices, obviously some offices don't have DVLA, so it's no difference to them. But the others that do, it brings much welcome income.
In what position would you like to see post offices in a couple of years' time?
Profitable. It's as simple as that. We need more products, we need more services. Post office should really go out there and get better deals, for things such as currency and mails, bill payments, anything really. But one thing that they should concentrate on is that particular product profitable. It's pointless if it actually costs postmasters more to perform the transaction than they actually get paid for it.
Finally from me, how do you see the post office network developing for tomorrow's customers?
That's going to be very, very challenging. The government almost seems to have a online by default policy. So everything, do it online, do it yourself online. There's always going to be a certain faction of people who that's just not possible for them. And I think that's where the post office will come in. I mean, for instance, we do the driving licence on a tablet and the passports on a tablet. It's a fantastic service. Saves them having all the hassle, and they're quite prepared to pay, a fee for us to do that for them. So it's more along the lines of that, and obviously parcels and Pudo. These lockers, for instance, that you see dotted around, they quite often either don't work or they're full, or people can't find the codes for them, and so to actually come in and have somebody serve them face to face is actually quite unique nowadays. So yeah, I do think there is a future, but it always comes back to management and governance, and that's the thing that the post office and the government's got to get right, because if it doesn't, then I don't really know what would happen.
Thank you very much for your time today, Tim.
Right, thank you.
This was a podcast from the NFSP National Federation of Sub-Postmasters. It was produced by the NFSP Communications team. In future episodes, we will have exclusive interviews with more postmasters. We'll speak to Post Office, who will answer any questions and queries you have, and members of the NFSP will talk about the work we're currently doing and our plans for the future. Are you a postmaster with a story to tell? Are you closely involved with a local event or otherwise active in your community? If so, get in touch and help us tell the story of the role you play or the difference you make to your neighbourhood. Email us on communications@nfsp.org.uk.